This week on the Lokar Car Show, we're in Stuart, Florida at the McKee's 37 Open House. For this big community of car enthusiasts, it was important for them to play the national anthem as well as say a prayer before the car show kicked off. This owner said he'd never seen a '53 Corvette, and it had always been a dream of his to own one of the 300 made. His dream came true.
When I was a young man, I did a lot with mid-year Corvettes and bought and sold them, but I had never physically seen a '53, and it was always a dream of mine to have one of the first 300 Corvettes. These are the only Corvettes ever built in Michigan. They were built by hand, and it was just exciting for me to follow that through later in life, and the first time I ever saw one is when it was delivered to me. It was painted in 1974. Basically, the family that owned it for 39 years, and they did a restoration on it in '74. But basically, when I got it, they'd only put 1,000 miles on it in all those years, and it needed to be, everything needed to be rebuilt. The door jambs needed to be touched up, a couple of areas needed to be touched up, and the paint and brakes and tires and the seats and rugs and needed to be detailed. But it was a great car. It has a 6-cylinder, 150 horsepower, 3 side draft Carter carburetors, and it's actually quite a great running little car. Not a ton of power, but enough power. No, mainly a show car. It is fully registered, fully operational, but I do actually tow it because there's no seat belts, there's no door locks, there's no handles, the windows live in the trunk, and they leaked a lot of water when they were new, and they still leak a lot of water.
This 1940 Ford Deluxe Coupe came to David Chambers' attention because he had wanted to build a new one, and a friend told him this one was available.
I'd been wanting to build a new one, and I was going to buy a Dennis Carpenter steel body car and put the kit together, and a friend of mine told me about this one that was for sale about 4 years ago, and I was fortunate enough that the gentleman that built the car sold it to me. Well, I changed the engine, changed the transmission, and just drove it. I don't know, I've probably put 30,000 or 40,000 miles on it since I've owned it, about 10,000 miles a year. It's a good driver. It's got a 700 R4 transmission in it, small block Chevrolet. Mustang 2 front end, 8-inch Ford rear end, and it just goes down the highway great. Yeah, it runs pretty good. Yeah, it's a 300 horse, 350. Well, I used to drag race years ago, so I don't really do it as much now as I used to. You out there drag racing, you run close to 200 mile an hour, your street cars kind of get just normal then. I'm going to redo the interior eventually. I've been looking at different upholstery to put in the car, different makes of seats, and I think I'm going to just stay with the stock factory seat and just have it recovered again.
Because finding a 1932 Ford Victoria is so rare, Tom Pasula traded a car he just finished so he could snag one of these babies for himself.
Well, I didn't build this one. I traded one, and the reason I traded it, I didn't build it. It was the rareness of a 32 Vicky. I traded a car I had just finished, and so now I'm going to tear it apart and redo it. I've only had it about 2 months. This is the way I got it. It'll be coming apart next week. It's got a small block Chevy. It's got a 5-speed Tremec in it, but it's going to be changed to an automatic. Too old to shift. Rides nice. Rides really good. The guy who built the car did a real good job. Well, I'm going to change the motor and put fuel injection on it, change it over to an automatic, do the interior, and paint it. Pretty much do all the things you got to look at, not the drive. I drive to California or wherever. I don't go with trailers.
We'll be right back with more amazing cars on the Lokar Car Show, presented by Original Parts Group. The Lokar Car Show, presented by Original Parts Group, is brought to you by Heart of Appalachia. Virginia is for lovers. Original Parts Group, world-class restoration parts. Brothers Truck Parts, your #1 source for 1947 to 87 Chevy and GM truck restoration. Lokar, quality, plain and simple. The founder and owner of McKee's 37 and McKee's RV, Bob McKee, boasts 30 years of experience in the car care industry. He decided to display his RV right out front so he could demonstrate his new McKee RV care products. When a friend needed more space in his garage, Wes Clem lucked into this 29 Buick Model 47 sedan.
It's the 25th silver anniversary of Buick. Hard to believe they were building them for 25 years at this time. So this was their high-end car. It was a classic. This was a high production model. Not a whole lot of them around, probably about, I would say 820, but most of them are in Europe, believe it or not. It's got it's a 90 horsepower straight six overhead cam updraft carburetor, and it's about 90 horsepower. Well, I do it to all the local car shows. I don't trailer it, I drive it, so my range is probably about, I don't think I'll go over 40 miles. Well, I did this a number of years ago for Halloween, and I just kept the tradition. And to me, every car show is Halloween, so I dressed up, and of course I did a little addition to the inside just because it is Halloween coming up, so that's my theme.
Vincent Cashin found this 1940 Packard 110 convertible in Detroit. He says he rescued it from becoming a hot rod.
Well, when I was 17 years old, my first car was a 1937 Packard, four-door sedan. So I learned how to drive on that. I love Packards ever since. I was looking for one, of course, after having a young family. Couldn't do it. Played with cars later on, and I found this car up in Detroit. Some guy was going to make a hot rod out of it. So I rescued the car. Was able to find a fender. He started to cut fenders out to tub it, you know, put big wheels on it. And it's a restomod, not a hot rod, but restomod. And restomod meaning that the interior and the exterior of the car is as exact as I could keep it for 1940. Underneath, it's all modern engine, drivetrain, brakes, automatic transmission, overdrive transmission I put in it a year ago, air conditioning. So we take this, it's a driver, it's not a trailer queen. We take this car everywhere. It's a 350 Chevy with a 350 horsepower engine in it. It's got a little heavier cam, it's a crate engine from Chevy. And it fits in there. It's got a Nova front end, and as I said, it's got a 700R transmission. It's an overdrive transmission. It does get a lot of thumbs up on this car, you know, and it's great in Florida. Put the top down, you know. The interesting part about this car is that the top is still operated by vacuum, the same way it did when it was built in 1940. So I've been taking care of the canisters to keep the vacuum top working. Everybody tells me, why don't you put an electric top in it, you know, and it would be so much easier, but I like to keep it as stock as possible, and it's neat to have those devices still working. And you think about how they made the car back in 1940, 77 years later, parts are still working on it, you know.
It's time for Lokar Lowdown with Kevin Ford.
Hey guys, you've probably already heard, but Lokar was able to purchase Clayton Machine Works last year, and I'd like to show you another one of the great products that we have with this company. The LS motor is popular, everybody's using it in every way they can. The one thing that doesn't get addressed often is the coil packs on the covers. You either got to buy a valve cover, which we also have, but if you want a quick, easy way to make it clean up and look nice, we offer these LS coil covers. You can see here they're offered in a powder-coated black finish with a machined edge. It's all stainless hardware and, you know, aluminum stanchions. Everything will cover up your coils. It'll bolt right to it. You don't even have to take the valve covers off. If you do, we also offer a coil relocation kit. You know, they're pretty ugly. You can see it. Either way you decide to go, we've got you covered. Like I said, these come standard with the black. We also have them in a raw finish. They'll fit your LS 1s, 2s, 3s, you know, whatever you come up with. And if we don't have it, give us a call and let us know. We'll see if we can figure something out. Come see us at a show. We're going to be found wherever Lokar is. And if you want to look at online direct, go to claytonmachine.com.
Welcome back to the Lokar Car Show, presented by Original Parts Group. When she went to buy a truck for her son, Donna Jensen says she got lucky. He didn't like the long bed on this 65 F100, so she got to keep it.
So we brought it home and it wasn't in great shape. And actually the guys at Auto Geek showed me how to detail it and turned it from we needing a paint job to not needing a paint job. And then we saw the tires and rims at a car show and we went to Coker Tire in Tennessee and bought them, ordered them and bought them, put them on. And then a friend of ours who does the pinstriping, RB, Richard Baker, he hand painted the rest of the truck, all the stripes. And my husband built the boards and did the tailgate. Got a 352 big block in it, 3-speed transmission. It was a 3-speed on the shift, and it was real sloppy. So we switched it to a floor shifter, so it still has a 3-speed in it. So it's not, you know, it doesn't have a 6-speed in it or anything, but it's a daily driver and it'll burn some tires. My husband bought it for his kid. He didn't want it. Then he got rear-ended and he gave it to me when it was wrecked, when the back was wrecked. He said, here, you take it. So it's been mine since then, and that's when we did the tires, had it, you know, changed it up a bit.
Once he retired, Jim Ferrari was looking for an exotic and came across this 2013 McLaren 12C Spider.
Well, I was looking for an exotic when I retired, and I wanted something different. I had a Lamborghini before that, and I wanted something a little bit different. So I looked around. There were, at that time, there were only 2 McLaren dealers in Florida. So I called the dealer closest to me, which was in St. Petersburg, and he had this car coming in. The original owner was trading it in, and he told me all about the car. They sold the car new, so they recertified the car. It's a lot of fun. It's a mid-engine, 3.8 liter V8 twin turbocharged, 640 horse, carbon fiber tub. The car weighs approximately 2,800 pounds dry. It has active aerodynamics, which is pretty, at the time, was very high tech. The McLaren engineering is just way over the top. The cars are made in Suffolk, England, right across the aisle from the race cars where they build them. McLaren's one of the few production cars where all their cars are still hand painted instead of using robotics. This car has the optional volcano red paint job, and it really shows in the sun.
This owner said he'd been looking for this 55 Chevy Nomad for 5 years. It's his dream car.
I had a 1956 Chevrolet 2-door sedan that was a 999-point car at the Nationals for Chevrolet, and we talked about a trade, and he wanted like $140,000 for this Nomad. I didn't have that money. So I said, well, you know, send me photos of the car, and I'll send you photos of mine. So when I got the photos and he got the photos, I said, you know what? Your car from 1 to 10 is probably a 6, maybe a 7. My car is like an 11 or 12. There is no way that we're trading straight across. So we eventually came to an agreement. He had a lot of parts in the car that he never installed. And so we met in the southern part of Georgia. We swapped cars. And for a year and a half, I've been building this car and trying to get all the little things that were done. If you notice, the door handles on the car by Kitted Bitch and Rides. When I asked him about putting those door handles on, I said, how long did it take you to put those door handles on? He had it on one of his reality programs. He says, are you an experienced body man? I said, yeah, I think so. He says, it should take you 1 day per side. It's exactly what it took. So, and then I painted it. This is the new Corvette Racing Yellow, and white tri-stage pearl. And if you get a chance to look behind, I did a surfboard. One of the guys that works for me, really trick painter. And the car runs great. It's got a 427-inch LT1 motor made by Street Performance. Rack and pinion, 4-wheel disc brakes, 6-speed manual transmission. Bad boy. Bad boy. But that's what I've been looking for. This car is my dream car. I've been looking for one of these for about 5 years, and I finally found it. And we're doing the best we can at the car shows, you know.
Original Parts Group Incorporated Restoration Tip.
Here at Original Parts Group, we've got a pretty good selection of classic GM muscle cars. The really cool part about that is we get to play with them from time to time, but it also lets us test fit parts that we actually manufacture on the cars before we actually put them into production and offer them to our customers, which is pretty cool. What we've got here today is 66-67 Chevelle big block fan shroud. This piece is manufactured out of heavy duty black molded plastic. It's got all the correct cutouts for mounting points on the radiator. Got the correct cutout for the upper and lower radiator hoses. It's molded and fits just like the GM original. We also offer this part for 66 and 67 small block Chevelle with the same correct cutouts, same mounting points. We offer all these parts, also fan shrouds for many other GM Classic A bodies and G-body vehicles. And you can order these online at opgi.com or give us a call and order your free catalog today.
We'll be right back with more amazing cars on the Lokar Car Show, presented by Original Parts Group. The Lokar Car Show, presented by Original Parts Group, has been brought to you by Rod End Supply. We don't just sell them, we race them. H&M Saw, the saw that cuts straight. McKee's 37, complete auto and RV care. Advertising Edge, the official uniform of the NHRA. Bob McKee invited his good friend Wayne Carini from Chasing Classic Cars to be part of the show. Wayne had people lining up for his autograph, and then he presented awards to his top 4 picks, while Bob McKee and Nick Rudder each chose their favorite car to award. Tim Mumford has loved owning Bel Airs since he was a kid, and he loves his '57 Chevrolet Bel Air.
Did some one-off fabrications. It was a older lady's car with 35,000 original miles. I put a ZZ4 motor, Super T10 trans, 8.5 posi rear end, and has original interior, one respray on the original tropical turquoise paint. Beautiful riding car. Did some fabrication to the front end, lowered it, front and rear sway bars, rides beautifully. ZZ4 crate motor, 350 horse. The color is what does it, I believe, because it's an unusual color, but it is tropical turquoise, and we live in a subtropical region, so I get away with it. The car itself has 37,000 miles from 1957. I put 2,000 miles on it. As I said, I got it when it had 35,000 original miles. All original sheet metal, not a lick of rust on the whole car. Jump up and run. Of course, I had the hot rodded with the motor and tranny and rear end. It was an original 6-cylinder motor, and the heater works very well. It was a Midwest car, but unfortunately, we live in South Florida.
This '64 Ford Galaxie 500 XL came straight off the lot. Jules Baduc bought it brand new when he finished college.
The funny thing about this car is that it cost $84.16 a month for 3 years, and my wife and I had to pay. We thought that was the most money in the world. The car was only $3,000. Today, $3,000 is hardly a down payment on an automobile. So that's how I acquired it, and just kind of kept it over the years. It's been a wonderful automobile. Mechanically, it's been perfect. Little 289 with a 2-barrel automatic transmission. I added the air conditioning about 2 years after the car, after I owned the automobile. And I also added the Kelsey Hayes wire wheels about 3 years after I had the car. 2 options that I wanted badly, but couldn't afford them as a young kid growing up and just getting out of school. I'm glad I hung on to it too. Yes, sir. No, the car's original, original body-wise. I added some things to the interior. As you'll see when you take a look at it, there's some wood items in there that a friend of mine's dad made for me. The steering wheel, the console cover, the little piece between the speedometer and the armrest are all solid walnut. And back then I was kind of a wood nut. I was intrigued with wood that they were putting in automobiles, mainly the European cars. And he offered to make this stuff for me. He was a wonderful carpenter. He was a veteran carpenter, and he made it all for me, put it in, it's been in ever since.
This week's winner of the Lokar Car Show's Pick of the Show Award, presented by McKee's 37, is Hunt Throop and his cool 68 Charger RT.
You know, I gave your car, the 68 Charger RT, my award, Wayne Carini Award. I gave out 4 of those awards today, but this car really hit me. The beautiful color, this black on a Charger, I think is the ultimate color. You got the red stripes, the red line tires, the Magnum wheels. I mean, this really does it all for me. You know, and I'm a Chrysler fan of this era, so congratulations. And I hear you won the Lokar Award, too.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Fabulous, fabulous. So how long have you owned the car?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
It's a really, really cool car. I mean, this is when the shape of this car was so cool. Chrysler was doing so many great things.
The body style's perfect.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And tell you the truth, not to upset any Challenger owners, but the Charger, I think, was a better looking car.
Charger was in Bullet.
Yeah, and it was in Bullet.
Yes.
That's for sure. They had a Bullet Mustang and then the Charger, of course, that the bad guys drove.
Bad guys.
The bad guys drove.
Bill Hickman.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
And that's one of the best movies ever.
Yes, sir.
I think.
I think so too.
Yeah, Steve McQueen driving that car was fabulous. But even right down, and I'm not a fan of side lights, but I mean, they did a tasteful job even putting side lights on.
Which only lasted until the next year.
Rain may have been in the forecast, but thankfully, the clouds held off until the end, allowing the McKee's 37 open house to be a tremendous success. We'll be headed to Chattanooga, Tennessee next week on the Lokar Car Show for the Chattanooga Cruise In. See you then.